Hi, this is Dr. Parikh. Welcome to Module 1. So we're going to start here on the home page just to make sure that you know how to get to everything. I'm going to make my screen just a little bigger, in part because I have a headache and so I can't wear my glasses right now. So most of the information you need to get to pretty quickly will be over here on the left. There's a syllabus. There's the way to schedule with me for office hours. So you'll see office hours start to pop up and your schedule will be in the background instead of mine. Office hours are a little limited the first 2 weeks because it just happens. Most of my hours are on Mondays, and that's when we're usually that's when we're off, the first day and the second week. I might move some of my following Monday's hours to Wednesday just to give a little more availability. But anyway, the next thing, as you just heard me say, sometimes I move my hours. And so if you use the online scheduler, you'll see kind of the most up to date. So you don't get to my office and see a note on the door saying, hey, I already had these hours, or I'm having them the next day. And also if I do need to move them later, I can email you to let you know. You can get to your grades. The best thing to keep track, there's 2 things that really help you keep track of what you need to do. The first one is the module to-do list. This has links to just about everything you're supposed to read and watch. And there's also playlists in YouTube for the videos. That makes things easier. And then there's also the Blackboard calendar. I've tried to keep up with the assignments, but I've changed, the course morphs over time, and sometimes I move when things are due. So the calendar is the most surefire way to know what's due. I try to keep the list of assignments for each module up to date, but honestly, this is the safest. So for week 1, you start with a discussion. You have 3 discussions altogether this week. I'll go through those in a moment. So you've got Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. You also have some bonus stuff. It's set as due it Friday because I want you to just get it over with and have it done. But I'll take a little late. You also have your autobiography. This is meant to be a pretty light assignment. You're not supposed to have to do reading. It's really just you kind of telling me where you are in relation to some course ideas. And then every week ends with a quiz. These quizzes are just a few questions. They're over usually the chapters in the lectures on the Psychology of Women book, or if I don't have enough chapters, I'll use journal. It's usually over kind of whatever I consider to be the heaviest readings, and it's just picking a couple items and really picking apart how well you understand them. So make sure you've done those harder readings pretty thoroughly so that you can find the part that I'm talking about and really read it closely and try to understand what I'm getting at in these questions. They're meant to be pretty difficult. They're also meant to be only a small part of your overall grade. These are worth about 30 points. Your discussion, so the first week it's the rules discussion, but typically you'll have a topical discussion, a topical post, which is sort of like an essay exam, where you get to make up your own question. But where you're citing ideas from the source. So let's start with the discussion board. So the first one is introducing yourself, and I have a list of things. What I usually do is I would copy and paste this description, and then I would start the thread, paste this, and I would either type right over it or type below it and delete things as I'm done. So that way you know that you get everything in. Make sure that people know what you want to be called. I need to, this is fully online, so I don't need to know what to call you in class versus the roster. So people just need to know what you'd like to be called, and you can draw attention to it if it's different from the name that shows up in Blackboard. You can have a different first name show up in Blackboard. It's a bit of a hidden process, but if that's something you would like to happen, you can contact me. The only place you can't change the initial, like the username that shows up in your email, but you can have chosen names come up in the portal, the My Caldwell, and in Blackboard. But also if it's just a nickname and you're fine with your legal name showing up everywhere else, just let us know what you'd like to be called. And if it's different from what shows up on Blackboard, it might be helpful if you sign your posts, just to keep reminding us. Pronouns are particularly helpful in online formats because we don't always have the same gender cues, but also it's good to just ask people what their words are. And words can change over the semester sometime, especially when we are thinking and talking so much about gender. So feel free to share that. I'm not necessarily asking you to share things like your gender identities here. Pronouns is fine. And if you have multiple sets you're familiar with, it's helpful if you have a preferred. Let us know. If you really don't care, just let us know what the options are. Your major, what year you are in school, at least 2 non-academic things. Pet pictures are always appreciated. A recent photo, and let me see. I think they may have, we even have one already. Okay. So if I'm creating a thread, the easiest way to do it now, if I recall correctly, is to add things. I have no idea what this is, and we'll see if I have to restart my video because I shared something. Oh, that's no, okay. Not a photo of me, but something that I'm okay with putting up. So the easiest way to attach a photo is just using the little add content button. Now it used to be different, but that's the best way. That makes it show up right there in the text line, just like this. And I don't know, I don't get a list ahead of time knowing if any students have disabilities. So especially with online classes, just build in universal access. So if you post a photo here or elsewhere, just have a quick 1 or 2 sentence description of what it is, so that everybody is involved. See, and this is actually this. I should probably update my picture soon because it's getting a little dated. If you go into your Blackboard profile and actually edit to add a picture, and there's a cool step-by-step guide that let me know if it's no longer accurate because these things update occasionally. But I'll give you 5 bonus points if you also add a photo so that it shows up every time you post. The next thing you'll do, so normally you would have a topical post where you post a more detailed essay. It's kind of like it's your heaviest work for each weekly reading and video. But for the first week, we'll just talk about kind of what are the rules and norms you want to set. For example, if you think it's a good idea for everybody to just sign posts with, every time sign with their name, the name and pronouns that others should use for them, that's something you could suggest as a rule. For example, if you have a really hard time remembering things like nicknames or preferred names and pronouns. There's lots of things you could suggest here. In general, it's, a lot about just privacy and respect, but every group has slightly different ways they decide to handle those issues. And remember, this course is designed to have a lot of interaction, to not just be you to me, and also to have actual content coming from you so that it's not all just me, and especially because online courses, it's really easy to get dated because I can't just keep piling on content. And the last one is character choice. So you're going to be doing a longer term project, kind of your big paper for this semester is analyzing themes of gender issues with a character from I was thinking a book, movie, TV show. I'm open to historical characters, but historical actual figures, but there can be so much information, it can be overwhelming. If you do a TV show, I suggest focusing on a specific season for the same reason, especially really long-running shows can have quite a bit of character development, and so it can be overwhelming to try to explain, all 12 seasons of Meredith Grey or something like that. So here, just make 2 suggestions of people you might want to do, and also consider, so here also think about whether this is something you might want to do a group project with. I'm very open to group projects. I don't think they're necessarily less work, but they're different work. And if you organize well and get someone you work with well, then it can be less work, but it's still really good skill development. So those are your discussions for the first week. If we come over here, you see a whole thing dedicated to the autobiography. It's meant to be very informal. Please do use complete sentences, but it can be more like a professional blog tone, more like a conversation with me. Please don't feel like you have to know a lot of these terms or hit on every single one of them. It's meant to just be sort of a time to reflect on yourself and where you're coming from as you're coming into this class. When I first assigned this class, I had a more scholarly autobiography at the end. Excuse me. To kind of bookend the class with self-reflection. But as part of just trying to make the class put the focus where it should be, I just have this early on touch point, but I think it creates a place for you to reflect as you go forward. You can find more information about the character analysis paper here. This is the final paper you're working toward. There will be several discussion posts building toward it. So this first one is just ideas of who might be a good fit for you. And you might start out saying, look, I know who I want to do it on. Here's another one I could do it on. Or you might genuinely be still deciding. I will make sure that I go through and give a little feedback, especially if it's been a week and you haven't seen anything, then it's probably fine. I'll try to comment on everybody's though. But especially if I have concerns, I will let you know why. I don't usually out and out reject things, but I will tell you, I have concerns, here's why, or I think of your two options, I think this one would be better. And here's for these reasons. And I also, I encourage you to think creatively, even look up, I think young adult novels are so much about identity. And of course it's limiting developmental lifespan. It's, you're not getting that lifespan perspective. It's limiting the kind of the age. But I think young adult is so much about identity and finding your place and kind of navigating all of these social demands and expectations. So I think there are tons of young adult books that have fabulous characters for this. A lot of them you can probably listen to if you haven't read them, or if you want to brush up, you can probably listen to them on audiobook through your library. Or, those usually there's a lot of copies floating around that you can get from your library or get cheap from a thrift store. And YouTube and TikTok are fabulous for getting recaps. Any online sources that help you with just organizing content for characters are completely fair game. It's the work of the analysis of the character that I want to mostly, to be coming from you. But if you find like Wikipedia pages just about, reminding you what all happens, then that's great. You can also, lots of people put together great lists of young adult novels featuring different areas of diversity. So if you're interested in exploring more of that intersectionality, you can find, I'm sure, tons of resources to help you think outside the box, either discover something that's new to you or something you might not have thought about that would be a good fit for this project. Let's see. Bonus opportunities are here. One of them, the student info sheet. This one is a Google sheet that just tells me a little bit about you. There are a few questions that are specifically required, the ones with the red asterisks. Everything else is optional. So if you do all the required stuff, you get 5 points. And if you also upload a photo, you get 10 points. There's also, I don't know, I assume it's running again this semester, but if you participate in research, you can get bonus points. I clicked on something by accident. What else? So every week we have a quiz. The quiz is here. It is time limited to an hour. It's only 3 multiple choice questions, but what I'm expecting is that you will open your textbook, find the space, find the page for these, and reread that section and the surrounding pages pretty carefully. So it will take you a decent amount of time, and you want to have already read and kind of be familiar with what each section is talking about so you can find the topic of the question pretty quickly. Let's see. You can find the lecture slides that are in the videos. You can find the playlist so that instead of clicking on each video, and again, it's possible that some of the playlists that I have in Blackboard where I've added each video individually might get out of date. I'm going to try to import the playlists. Let's see. Oh, that was what else I was going to show you. If you go into the Google Drive, you can see I have the first few weeks' chapters uploaded, PDFs. My intention is not to replace the textbook. It's to give you an extra couple weeks to get access to the textbook. I typically keep a copy in my office. You can also come during office hours to borrow it. I don't let it leave the third floor, but you can borrow it while I'm around. This is probably also a course where you could organize with someone else to share a textbook. But you will need, in order to do well on some of the assignments, you will need access to the textbook. I think that's everything you need for the first week. The rest of the weeks, the overview should be a little shorter, but I wanted to give you just a little bit of walkthrough of Blackboard for this. All right, if you have any questions, email me, office hours, you know how to find me. Take care, bye-bye.